Welcome everybody to the 14th mystery chocolate tasting. It's very nice to see you here. If for those of you who don't know me, I am Jennifer Earle, and I am your host for this evening and for all of the mystery chocolate tastings. And tonight we are joined by our very special guests, Isobel Cast and Karen Hughes from Dormouse Chocolates. Do you want to wave, guys? Come off mute. Yeah.
We're off mute.
Yay! Hi. So I hope you've got some questions for them, because it's a great opportunity to ask them lots of things. There's lots of changes to Zoom since I last used it, or just this update that came today, because it's different on this computer to that computer. So if this is your first time, you'll see my name twice. One of the options is recording the, I'm going to stop this sharing so that you can see me. One of the options is recording just speakers and the screen, and then on this screen I get to see all your faces, so I can see your reactions. So I would love it if you leave your cameras on. You will not be recorded, and then I can see your faces as you try the chocolate. And you can also use the emojis down the bottom, or you can just wave and use your thumbs up. Please use the chat to share your thoughts on the chocolate, your guesses. It is very tricky to guess chocolates, so there's no shame in trying your answers. It's just a bit of fun. There's no test, no quiz. Hands up if you haven't got your camera on, you can use the emoji hand. Hands up if this is your first time joining us. Oh, yay, welcome. Sorry about the delay. Especially sorry to your first time. And I think there's some of you here that might have been here for most of the last 14. Yeah. Hi, Dom. Hi, Jess. And Isobel and Karen have been to most of them as well. So a few things to note, that a little bit about what's going to happen this evening. We're going to taste some chocolate. How exciting. And the chocolatier is also on the call. They shall be revealed shortly. The two things you will need from your pack, apart from the chocolates, are the tasting sheet. It's a bit hard to see. This is not your actual one. I encourage you to write notes, because if you can resist, try not to eat all of the chocolate while we're tasting it, because one of the fascinating things about chocolate is that, rather obviously, what you taste just previously to it affects how it tastes. But the other factor is that the more chocolate you taste, the better you get at tasting. If you ever needed any incentive to eat more chocolate, the more you eat, the better you become at tasting. And that happens like within a period of time. Obviously, it happens over time as well. The more chocolates you try, the better you become at tasting. But during a session, after you've had 3 or 4 chocolates, you get more astute at picking up flavors. So write some notes and then see how it compares to when you taste it later. Even if later you already know what the ingredients are, it'll just still be fascinating, I think, to try it again once the flavors have been revealed. Just one second. I think I'm a little bit like bright. Can you turn this one down, please, Sam? Okay, you could try that. Oh, this is a fun light show, isn't it? I was just getting you to turn me down. And then the other thing that you might need is this tasting wheel. So this is designed for plain, oh, that's better, plain dark chocolate, which is the most flavor complex food on the planet. So it has more different flavors can be found in chocolate than in wine or than coffee, which people typically understand as having lots of different potential flavors. You didn't know you were coming for a light show, did you? I'm sorry if you're epileptic. It's quite some flashing lights. Gosh, it might be better without the big light. Hey, okay. Anyway, back to this. This is quite helpful for tasting filled chocolates as well, because sometimes when you're tasting something, you're like, I know what it is, but I can't remember the name. So most of the flavors that are added to chocolate are around the outside as well. Not all of them, but they might be there. So if you start at the center and notice that you're tasting fruit in the chocolate, for example, then you can move out to the next layer and be like, yeah, I think it's a tropical fruit, and then move out to the next layer and see if that's one of them that you're finding. Okay, can I have a little vote? Shall I turn off that spotlight or leave it on? Okay, on, off. You don't care. Don't mind. You just turn it down a little bit, Sam, and then we'll just leave it on just in case the light changes. Oh, okay, maybe just move it back. Cool, that's good. We'll leave it there. Okay, thanks. Cool. Any questions? Yes, we are going to get straight on to the tasting. And after we taste the first one, then I will introduce the chocolatier, and so you can start asking them questions. So obviously, like I've told you, they're on the call. So we don't expect you to like all the chocolates. It's okay to say if you're not a fan of the chocolates that we're tasting. If you have specific feedback, that's always helpful. It's like a free market research class for them. And if you haven't already told me about any allergies, please do so now in the chat and I will see it. So I have my chocolates already on my chopping board. I've already eaten half of all of mine because I had to check what order was best to taste them in. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see which one we're tasting. I will also show it to you now. So I'll show you first, but I'm not very good at describing it. It is the Tall Dome, and it's going to be really hard to see. That is kind of a pale purple color with yellow spots, but I've got a photograph of it. So let's share my screen and then there won't be any confusion. It's this one here, but the first slide, pretty sure I clicked it. There we go. Does that help? That's the one we're going to taste first. And for those of you who are just going to shove the whole thing in your mouth, no judgment, that's what it looks like when you cut it. Look at those even layers. Now, so I said we weren't going to judge chocolate, but as I am a judge of chocolate, the funnest days of my year, one thing that we will comment on when we're judging filled chocolates, well, a couple of things, is how thin the shell is. I was teaching a class in how to make chocolate today, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of mess. And I was explaining to them that how challenging it is to get that layer of chocolate in the shell thin, but not so thin that it breaks. And then especially with the bottom. So to make chocolate like this, you would have a mold that the indentations. And so you pour in the chocolate, tip it upside down, shake it, have a thin layer, then you pipe in the fillings. And then after it sort of sets, it's more complicated than this, but the basic version is then you would put another layer of chocolate. And that in particular is hard to get such a nice thin layer and to get such even layers. So you can see from this diagram that there are two layers in this chocolate. So if you've started tasting, which you were very much encouraged to do, then please put your guesses. For some reason, the chat is not showing. I don't like this update that it did, but I can see it on the other screen. So, Ruth, have you worked out which one from that picture? I think it's maybe orange. As we can see, the light in here is very weird. Okay, so let me hold it up again. It is the Tall Dome. I can go back to the screen if you like. It's kind of a purpley grey colour compared to the others. So we have a red one, a white one, a kind of starry sky one, a brown, shades of brown, there's a yellow, and then it's the other one. Does that help? I'll show another. I'll just go back to the sharing the screen so you can see. And if I go back to the first screen. Okay. I think I need a new computer. 2 new computers. Here we go. So it's this one here that's between the heart and the yellow one. I'm not sure yours are packed in the same order, but has everybody got the right chocolate now? And stop sharing. Orange, yeah, orange more than yellow. Like I said, the light in here is very strange. But yes, that sounds correct if you're seeing orange lights. Okay, so really buttery and biscuity. Good descriptions, yes. Any advances on salted walnut? I think it's some guesses. Yeah, please. So let's hear from Isobel and Karen.
I'm getting like a digestive biscuit.
Yeah, there's like a really biscuity, almost slightly spiced or caramelly, like crunch in that bottom layer.
Interesting.
I'm always so in awe of people who can create that beautiful, delicate shell.
It's the
I
shell
can't at all.
And they're so perfectly capped off.
Yes, They really are.
Barely see that. It's so smooth.
Yeah, this is why I wanted this particular chocolatier to make an entire box for us, because every chocolate that they have made that I have seen and tried has been just perfect. I was like, I know that this person can make a box that you're all going to love. Maybe not every single chocolate, because, you know, it's important to stretch your taste experience. But in terms of like the skill. Okay, so shall I reveal? I'll go back to sharing the screen so you can see it revealed. Walnut is close, but not correct. Oh, it's very slow at changing, moving forwards. And there I am clicking forwards on this PowerPoint presentation. I'm just going to tell you, it is not almonds. It is a, make sure I get the right name. It's a pecan pie. Yes. So the salt and the biscuity stuff, all correct. It is lovely, isn't it? So yeah, it's
really good.
I don't know why my screen is not. Oh, here we go. There. So it is made with a Valrhona Chivara 40% cocoa milk chocolate, caramel and pecan ganache, and then a pecan and biscuit base. And so the chocolatier, Shaoni, please. So when I've introduced Shaoni, when she wasn't on the call, when she made one of the chocolates for one of the previous tastings, when we had a mixed box from different chocolatiers, I described her as the chocolatier with the most number of chocolate courses attended, in terms of like, she's like done everything from the Collins Chocolat, the Barry Callebaut, the Le Cordon Bleu. It's just absolutely immense, the number of places that she's studied chocolate, which is, I think, why her chocolates are pure perfection. But tell us about the pecan pie.
Oh gosh, the pecan pie is just something that I came up with because I enjoy pecans and I enjoy pie, so I thought I'd put them together. You're right, there is biscuit in the bottom. There's I use digestives. It just saves me from having to make a biscuit as well as having to make all the ganaches and everything else. So I just literally buy a packet of digestives and use it to make the base at the bottom. And yeah, I make my own pecan praline in my grinder, and it's literally pecans, sugar, and a little bit of sea salt, and it's just so simple, and I think it tastes really good.
I agree. There we go. I got full screen now. That's excellent. Okay, cool. Well, we'll hear more about chocolates, and feel free to ask Shaoni and or Isobel and Karen questions as we go, and if we don't answer them now, then we'll answer them later. The next chocolate that we're going to taste is the yellow one. So I'll share my screen, so there's anyone who missed me saying that, if you popped out of the room, you can catch up, but I think hopefully the yellow one is quite obvious in the pack. Yeah, that's the yellow one. And if you cut this one in half, ooh, vibrant. I didn't taste that along with you. I'm going to try this one with you. I was just a bit distracted by technology. Ooh, I like that guess. Cardamom custard up. How silky is the texture of that? Mm. All right. What do you think, Isobel and Karen?
I'm getting something a little bit lemony, but not lemon, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit of spice. I think that the cardamom could be a good shout. But yeah, it's so silky and smooth, and again, that shell is just perfectly made.
I can't stop. Do you recognize the shell?
Should I recognize?
I've just tried a bit on its own.
I mean, I should say we didn't use any of Dormouse's chocolate because it was all organised a little bit late.
Is it a caramelized white?
It is a caramelized white chocolate, yes. And if you haven't had Dormouse's caramelized white chocolate, then go and buy some now. I'll maybe wait till we finish, but it is wonderful. This one is also very good, but you know, it's nice to support independent small makers. This is Valrona's Dulce, so they claim to have invented caramelized white chocolate. When was that, Dom? 2010, maybe? 12, 11, 12, I'm not sure. It was a long time ago now. That's probably about 10 years ago, and they said it was the fourth chocolate. It was before Ruby, so if you're familiar with Ruby as a pink chocolate, Valrhona announced Dulce as the fourth chocolate, so dark milk, white, and toasted white, which is basically like a posh Caramac. Very, very, very addictive, and I think works really well with this particular filling. Okay, cardamom tinted with saffron reminds you of the flavour of an Indian rice pudding. How interesting. Okay, so the reveal, this is I'm going to just tell you, it's golden milk. So if any of you've had a turmeric latte before, that's the same thing as golden milk, right, Shaoni?
Yeah, so golden milk is a drink that we have in India quite a lot. It's supposed to help you with digestion. It's supposed to help you feel better if you've got cold. And I've got black pepper in there as well. And apparently the black pepper is required for the absorption of turmeric in your body. So turmeric is a big antioxidant, and it's really good for you. And the black pepper helps you absorb it. So it's a really good combination to have in your golden milk drink. And yeah, I've made a ganache out of it. And I've actually got a truffle range, golden milk truffle, which I've just introduced. And it's quite nice with your tea or your coffee. It goes with both. I love it.
Yeah, I find like the spicing this is so subtle. Like I'm really impressed that several of you managed to pick out the cardamom and the cinnamon in it. But it's just it's gorgeous. Sometimes when you have turmeric, it can be quite earthy and a bit the same way that saffron, which it also reminds me of it. The saffron can be quite soapy if you have too much of it, and turmeric, if you use too much, can be quite earthy and unpleasant. But this is just beautiful. Often used as a yellow food coloring as well, in case anyone's interested. And it's often used with saffron. Turmeric is in order to like boost the yellow without adding saffron, because saffron's so expensive. But yeah, if you want to live forever, apparently turmeric is one of the keys, and chocolate, of course. Okay, next chocolate is this one's gonna be hard to describe, the tall dome with two layers of brown. I'll share my screen so that there's no confusion.
Only one.
Yeah, so the actual like smooth dome. Just waiting for the PowerPoint to catch up. Okay, so that was the gum. Also had nutmeg in it. So there we go. So the reason I said about trying to save some to try it again. So even though now you know what the ingredients are, once you've tasted sort of this one, maybe the next one, you go back and try the golden milk chocolate, the one we've just tried, it will taste more like you'll be able to detect the flavors better. It's really fascinating. So when we were setting up, I wasn't setting it up, but I was involved in the practice rounds of the International Chocolate Awards. My friends who started those, and we found that when we first tasted a chocolate that we all knew really well, we got some flavor from it that we expected. Then we tried 5 more different chocolates, and we went back and tried the one we knew well again, and it just like we got so many more different flavor notes from it. So it's really fascinating how you have this curve of after a few chocolates you get much better, But then there's a point when you have too many and you could be tasting any chocolate and you can't detect any flavour from it at all. So Isobel and Karen are judges for the Academy of Chocolate Awards.
We know that.
There's definitely sort of sweet spot where you've tasted just the right amount and you're like really getting all the flavours, and then as soon as you get past it, that's it, you give up for the day.
Yeah.
I think that's been the benefit of judging from home, being able to like take more breaks
Absolutely.
from it.
And being able to revisit them and
Pardon?
being able to revisit them and take a little bit more time.
Yes, exactly, taking more time. And I think also like it causes them as different, because for judging any of these chocolates, they're judged by always by more than one person, and so it means that then everybody's not doing them in the same order, which we try to do when we're in person judging, but it's much easier when you're at home judging to try and shift around the order so that you don't have the effect of either being first or last and potentially not being as good. Okay, I'm not catching up with the notes because they're not appearing on this screen. It's just blank. Hot chocolate notes, but also honey, malt loaf. Almost, oh, that's the chai was for the other one. Are we talking about chai for this one or the third one?
I'm getting a little
Malt
bit of
loaf.
spice in the third one, just like a little tickle of it.
Is this cinnamon stout? Some coconut?
Yeah, it's really rich, sort of treacly.
Yeah, that layer of caramel at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like how when you scroll down, it then starts at the top again. Okay. Any other comments? Make sure you've saved some point once you find out what this is, because
Oh, I did.
you saved a bit.
No, I did.
Oh, did you?
Karen thought that
I thought I'd
she'd
eaten
eaten
it all. No, I did save some.
Well done, well done. I'm resisting. I'm going to close down the screen seeing it's not showing anything. So this one is a cinnamon bun. So there's actually brioche. Oh, I'm going to let Shaoni explain because it's really cool what she's done to create this flavour. So I will hand over to you to talk about while I try and share the screen for the description as well.
It's interesting. It's quite a complex recipe, and I tasted it myself, and I didn't particularly think it was very cinnamon bun like, and that's because there's no texture, I think, more than anything else. But in the top layer, it's a cinnamon caramel, so there's a lot of cinnamon in there, but I don't think it's a very strong flavour personally. And in the bottom layer, there's a lot of browned butter, and I made my own brioche, and I cut it into little pieces and put it in the oven just to toast it off to make it more brioche-y. And then I infused it in the brown butter before adding it to the ganache. And there's a note of brioche, which I think Jen picked up on. But when I taste it, I don't get that bready flavour. I wish I did. I wish it came through more. But maybe next time I might chop it up into little pieces and add some crunchy bits of brioche in there as well. But then again, a cinnamon bun's not crunchy, so it's difficult. And you don't want soft bread in your ganache. I don't think it would have the same sort of impact. But yeah, it's supposed to be a brown buttery brioche flavour on the bottom layer. But personally, I don't think it's strong enough.
Interesting. So I find it depends where you go. I've eaten a lot of cinnamon buns because if you follow me on Instagram, you know I'm quite passionate about visiting bakeries. And our local cafe makes their own cinnamon buns. It was the Norwegian baker, and there's a very soft and brioche, like that kind of like slightly overproofed and kind of eggy, and the cinnamon is not super strong, whereas if you go to Fabrique, their cinnamon buns are like hit you in the face with the cinnamon. And so this one reminds me more of what used to be called Tronzo, is now called Ramble, pointing in the direction of the cafe. Not helpful. But it's that like just that like slight bready, slight cinnamony, just sweetness that, yeah, it's
It's kind of a comforting flavour that I think a lot of people have experienced. So yeah, I wanted to kind of bring that into a chocolate. I'm not sure it works 100%, but I think there's a bit of tweaking required. But it's still quite a nice kind of mellow flavour. I think most people enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to like just give feedback as to whether you like the chocolate or not in the thing. You don't have to just give your guesses, but you can just be like, it's delicious and I want more, because that's helpful as well. Question,
really
what did you infuse the, I asked this exact same question, but I will let it, I'll be quiet.
I infused the brioche into the butter, and the reason I did it in the butter and not the cream is that if you infuse cream with brioche, it becomes like a mushy brioche soaked cream fest. It's not very nice, and you can't actually extract all that cream back out of the brioche. It's very difficult, so you have to kind of find the best way. I think a lot of chefs do this. You have to infuse the bread in the butter, and the butter brings out the flavors very slowly, and rather than the cream, which just absorbs everything, absorbs all the flavors. So yeah, I infused it in the butter, brown butter.
I wonder if you put it into like a Vitamix or a Blendtec and like really pureed the cream and the brioche together, whether you wouldn't have that like soft bread, but you'd still get the flavor of it.
Yeah, I could try that. I still think that you wouldn't get the maximum flavor out of the cream.
No, and you'd probably get something that was kind of a bit of a weird texture, because it would not be the silky ganaches that you've done so beautifully.
I do think you'd get bits, even if you use like a muslin. I think you'd get a few gritty bits coming through. But yeah, I'm very happy to try it just to find out.
Very happy to taste your attempts. But I love this one as well. I think sometimes, like, even if things don't hit what you were intending them to, if they're still delicious, then it's a win. Okay, the fourth chocolate. I didn't finish explaining how everything works today, but the aim is we're going to get through the chocolates within the hour, and then there'll be time for asking questions. So I have some questions for our lovely guests, but please, you can start putting them now or save them up till we finish. So but that way we make sure we finish all the chocolates in time in case you have other things to do afterwards. So the next chocolate is the one that I described earlier as the Starry Sky, which should be helpful because there's a red one, a white one left, and then the Starry Sky. But for the avoidance of doubt, I shall share my screen. Anyone has any thoughts on how I could make all of this sharing smoother? I am open to your technology wizardry. And that's the one. And in case you wanted the description of the cinnamon bun again. But yeah, this is one we're tasting, and inside, it's 2 layers again. Okay. Silence as we taste. I think I need more. Any thoughts, Isobel, Karen?
I've just gone in for a second bite.
I think I'm going for a second.
Do we like it?
It's really buttery.
I'm asking everybody that.
The bacon praline.
That's what it reminds me of too, in a very good way. Dark chocolate coated biscuit. I have to remind myself I need to read out the comments, because when the recording on that goes on YouTube doesn't have the chat accompanying it, so it tastes a bit like a Twix. Oh, it does. That was my favorite of all the candy bars, Twix and Fuse, but then they stopped making Fuses. Anyone else have a favorite? Can you type in what your favorite candy bar is? Just to confuse the guesses.
I'm a bit basic. I like a Mars, or I like a Mars bar.
I see Mars bars are too sweet for me.
Oh, someone said.
I mean, Twixes are really
I
sweet too.
When I was little.
What one?
The Boost bar. Someone said.
Yes, I like the Boost, but they did have like guarana or something in them, didn't they? That like to give you that boost. Which is probably not a thing that should be marketed for children.
Yeah. Energy booster.
But they still sell them in places, because I know they did 10 years ago when I was developing McFlurries for McDonald's, and I was trying to make a Boost one. That was a lot of fun. But I was really determined to get a Twix McFlurry recipe developed. And so I spent a lot of time with Twix caramel. And so like Mars sent me these like massive bags of Twix caramel, all different versions, to make sure it would have like not freeze in the McFlurry and in the ice cream. And yeah, I got to take those home and just spoon the Twix caramel. It was great, and little tiny biscuits. It was a lot of fun. And it was pretty good, I think. Toffee crisp. Okay, so dark Kit Kat or Twix. There should be a dark chocolate. What's a Star Bar? Is that your favourite? Not to do with this.
That was one. That's one of yours.
I do love a Star Bar.
Yes.
What's in Star Bar? I can never remember.
Everything. It's really peanut based, isn't it? It's not having
those of you who don't know, I spent most of my like school years in Australia. We came back to England twice, and I bought lots of fuses when I did, but I don't remember the Star Bar. Maybe didn't make it there. We had cherry rights. Any of you been to Australia or have Australian friends? Very popular, coconut and cherry. Apparently made with cauliflower at one point.
wow.
Yeah, that kind of like bulked it out. I don't really know if that was a myth, a bit like lots of myths about McDonald's. Peanut butter centre with caramel outer in milk chocolate. I assume that's what that is, milk chocolate. Oh, that sounds fun. Do they make them still? I'm gonna seek them out. Okay, so this chocolate that you just tasted, I enjoyed that sidebar, but this one was a Mississippi mud pie.
Oh,
yeah.
Pecan pie, Mississippi mud pie, all the pies. I will let Shaoni explain it though.
Oh, Mississippi mud pie, I think, is just a very basic chocolate fudgy cake pie with a biscuit base, and that's I've just tried to recreate a very simple fudgy chocolate top layer. We're using dark chocolate, and the bottom layer is like a dark biscuit mixed with butter and cocoa butter, pretty much, and dark chocolate. So it's just a really simple chocolatey hit. Which I think is quite nice in a box of chocolates when everything tastes unlike chocolate, if you like, to have a really chocolatey flavour in there as well. I think is it helps you to kind of focus your mind on all the other flavours as well. So putting this in the middle of the selection, I think, is a really good idea, because the next, it kind of builds your expectation to have a completely different flavour for the next one.
It's almost like a palate cleanser between courses.
Yeah.
It's so this is made with a 66% cocoa content chocolate. I feel like it would be even more chocolatey if it was a higher percentage, but most people tend to be a bit more inclined for sweeter chocolate, so I can see why you would go with this one, especially if it's kind of an American theme. Then sweeter feels more appropriate there as well. Okay, yes, chocolate Libnitz, I can't pronounce that, but like the balsam biscuits, those are really good. They were supposed to send me some last week. It's very disappointing that they haven't arrived, or someone ate them without telling me they had arrived. Okay, so the second last chocolate that we're going to taste is the White Heart. I think that should be clear without me sharing the screen, but just in case anyone stepped away, I will make sure you can see it. What you have to think about. So on the sheet of paper, also, I think it's fun just to like pretend you're a judge and give your own overall score out of 100 as you go, just to kind of like gauge what your preferences are. And then you can kind of go, oh, at the end, like compare it and go, oh, I liked the one that I gave 80. I actually didn't like it as much as the one that I gave 90. And it helps you to understand how challenging judging can be, in that so much of what we taste is affected by our most recent experiences. So today, the course that I ran today was all on 100% chocolate. And once you've had like lots of 100% chocolate, when you have anything sweet afterwards, it's almost like horrible. It's like feels sickly sweet, even if it's not. It was a date caramel that I tasted, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm drinking sugar. Rosie Red Currant. I really liked the cut through of this one. That might be my favorite photo ever. Okay, so 2 layers. So rose. Yeah, you're on track. There's definitely rose in there.
I'm getting a burst of some kind of fruit as well.
I thought raspberry at first.
So Karen, you said raspberry. What did you say before that?
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely some kind of like berry. I'd maybe go raspberry as well. It's that classic flavour combination.
A nice tang.
Yeah. I love
Raspberry.
everything floral, so that's definitely one of my favourites.
Okay. Raspberry and rose is quite a classic combination. They pair so well together. So you are correct. There is rose and there is raspberry and there is one other fruit.
Ruth said blackcurrant.
Good guess, but no. The tricky thing about this particular fruit is actually, I feel like when you eat this fruit, it is basically the taste of a combination of raspberry and rose. If that's a clue. Lychee, well done, Monica. Yes.
Wow.
That's like such a floral tasting fruit. So like when you add it in the mix, it's it's quite hard to like extract particular flavors. I find that particularly challenging with spices because I definitely didn't grow up eating any spices in my food. I love spices now, but I don't have that skill of like extracting to be able to identify whether something is clove or nutmeg very easily. I need to like put in some proper practice and just like individually eat chocolates made with those particular ones to notice the difference. That is, if you're interested in like becoming a professional taster, that would be my encouragement. Eat lots of different foods and eat them like in their pure form and lots of like soaked in milk and or in like chocolate. So try them in like lots of different formats, have them in hot water with tea, and that works for like fruits or spices or herbs and things. So just tasting them in lots of different ways will help you to then identify them when they come up in chocolate or in cakes or whatever it is. Yeah, this is a beautiful chocolate. I love the taste because again, like with saffron and turmeric, the rose can sometimes be a bit. If you're not a fan of Turkish Delight, I apologize for including this chocolate in the mix. So I know it's a very love or hate flavor, but
it's really well balanced. So
yeah,
because I'm not usually as you usually get with floral chocolates.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was really well balanced.
And if you are a fan of Turkish Delight or rose, you are in good company because that is the Queen's favorite chocolates. Although not this particular one, I think she would love this more than Charbonnel's rose and violet creams if she had the opportunity to taste them. But when I first started running chocolate tours in 2005, we weren't allowed to tell people which one was the Queen's favorite, although like it was the Queen's chocolatier, we couldn't reveal. And then all of a sudden they decided that it wasn't a secret anymore. And so right from the very beginning, the groups have been tasting the rose and the violet creams. And what's been fascinating over the 15 plus years of running the tours is how in the very beginning, the first, like maybe 1 or 2 out of every 10 people would like the rose or violet cream, and usually just one of them. And everybody else is like, this tastes like soap. It reminds me of my granny. It's horrible. And then I've just watched that shift. So in 2019, when I was last personally guiding those tours, is like 1 or 2 people that didn't like it and everybody else really enjoyed it. And it's just, I think the way that food has changed so much in that 15-year period, when now you could go to a tiny tea room in the middle of the countryside and you might find a lavender cake. Whereas 15 years ago, the only people putting flowers in their food were like Michelin style restaurants, perhaps, and very avant-garde kind of So yeah, I just thought it was interesting to see how people's tastes, like actually to watch firsthand how people's tastes have changed. But the important thing is if you like it, you've got royal tastes. Okay, this is where if you have got a drink, it might be a good idea to have a little drink. I think I recommended warm water or hot water in the email, if you saw the email I sent today. Generally, when we are tasting from judging perspective, we would have just water. Anything else, obviously, if you have coffee, then the next thing's going to taste less bitter than it might have otherwise tasted. For personal enjoyment, you can drink whatever you like. But if you're trying to identify flavors, water's generally better for not interfering with that. And warm water works better because chocolate melts at body temperature. So if you are drinking cold water, any chocolate that's lingering in your mouth is going to like re-solidify. But if you have chocolate that is warmer than your body temperature, it's more likely to like be picked up by the water and be swallowed. So you're more likely to get a clean and fresh mouth before you taste the next chocolate. I find things like rooibos tea quite good for kind of palate cleansing as well, because they don't have the caffeine or the bitterness that you can get from other teas. They doesn't have the tannins in the same way, so it can like help. But I think actually just any warm water works just as well. Yeah. Cheers. Okay, next chocolate, the final one is the red one. I think I don't need to share my screen at this point because it's quite obvious. I don't know, unless Shaoni, did you have anything to add about the raspberry and lychee?
So this chocolate was inspired by Pierre Hermé because he's got this amazing macaron, which Ispahan, yeah, which I tasted in Paris, and it was just the best flavor. I'm not a big rose or lavender fan myself, so having that Ispahan macaron is just opened my mind, opened my eyes to actually what was out there. So yeah, this is an homage to Pierre Hermé, who I love.
So Ispahan is Pierre Hermé's signature flavor, and like it's been much like copied, honoured. But he has a whole range, like, so every now and again he does like a month of dedicated chocolate. So he also, in his 2 shops in Paris where he does patisserie as well as the macarons and the chocolates, because he has a Ispahan chocolate too, which is the 2-layered chocolate. This one is easily as good, having eaten the other one many times. And so in his patisserie, he always has a larger style macaron that's like got more fresh cream in it, and he does a Ispahan croissant, which is the best croissant I've ever had in my life. So if you are visiting Paris at any point in your life, please go to Rue Bonaparte or the other street. You can message me. I will send you, if you can't find out online, I'm happy to tell you. But the Ispahan croissant, it has like a jelly inside it, jam jelly, and then it has an icing on the top. And generally icing on croissant sounds like the worst thing in the world to me, but it is incredible. I have had many pastry friends taste it because I told them to, and they concurred. They agreed. So there you go. That's your instruction. One of the things to eat before you die. Okay, let me catch up on the messages of the guesses of the last one. Pistachio, raspberry. This one's too easy, huh? Too easy. Is that what you got too, Isobel and Karen?
Yeah, definitely. It's so tasty.
You might have had this one before, I think.
Yeah.
This is a silver award winner of Shaoni. So yeah, I insisted on this one being in the box because I love it. I've not had anything like this chocolate before. So the outside shell, if you're not working in the chocolate world, I know some of the people who join us are, but not everybody is. This is, so since the caramelized chocolate invention and the ruby chocolate invention, there's been a lot more innovation. And the Valrhona again have made this raspberry chocolate. They also have a strawberry one and a yuzu one and an almond one. And basically, instead of milk powder, they have put in dehydrated fruit, or almond in the case of the almond one. So it is cocoa butter, sugar, and dehydrated raspberries. So it's a white chocolate, but without milk. So it's a vegan chocolate. And then that whole chocolate is actually vegan. So obviously I don't think there are any vegans on this call, but if you have vegan friends, Shaoni does a lot of vegan ranges amongst what she does, and this is one of them. And yeah, the chocolate is so zingy. Yeah, also recommend their passion fruit and the yuzu. I don't know if it's available to the general public or if it's only for chefs and chocolatiers.
You can only buy it in bags, and I've heard that the yuzu one especially is incredibly eye-wateringly expensive.
Yes.
So if you ever see a chocolate made with it, then you buy it just so you can try it.
So over the summer, I co-created a dessert for Casa Calavera, who have a restaurant in Las Vegas, and they've like popped up during lockdown because they're owned by Yawacha and Hakkasan Group, and they asked me to come up with a dessert for them, and we did like the fresh wheat tortillas. I wanted to do cocoa tortillas, but we tried that and they were just dry and not very pleasant. I didn't add any chocolatiness to it, so we just used the plain ones, and it had fresh raspberries, passion fruit gel, and this raspberry chocolate and some of the dulce caramelized white chocolate in it. And then it was like, so it was all put in and folded over and then toasted and then drizzled in dark chocolate, and it was so good. Obviously all this chocolate's really expensive, so it was not a cheap dessert, but it was really good. So it's kind of like crepes with like these things. So yeah, I highly recommend doing that at home with crepes if you can get hold of some chocolate. Some of these people on the call might be able to hook you up if you don't have access to it yourselves. But do you want to tell us a bit more about how you make this one, Shaoni?
So this has a jelly layer of raspberry on the top, and it's literally raspberries, sugar, and a bit of pectin just to set it, nothing else. And the bottom is a raspberry praline. Pistachio praline. It's very green, very vibrant, and I think it's got a lovely flavour. It's made by Valrhona as well, and they just seem to get this incredible flavour out of their nuts. And I don't know how they do it, but it's just praline and a bit of cocoa butter to have it so it doesn't run out as you eat it. So it's a bit of a set praline rather than a ganache. My favourite too.
It's just like the raspberry chocolate afterwards just keeps going.
Everybody raves about this one. I thought it would be a bit scary because it's got quite a tangy chocolate around it, but everyone loves it. Everyone keeps coming back and asking for more. So I'm really, really pleased with how this one came out.
When I do private corporate mystery tastings, I usually buy these from Shaoni too, because it gets people very happy and excited. So that's our tasting finished. What was your favorite? Hit me up in the comments. I'm gonna catch up on them. It's like PBJ. So I did a tasting for a company summer party last week, and I took along this chocolate and 5 others, and a lot of people said peanut butter instead of pistachio for this. So the aim of that game, I wasn't talking through, it was just they had a sheet of paper per team, and they cut them into pieces and tasted, and everybody just I wasn't allowed to give any clues. And then there were 12 ingredients across the 6 chocolates that they tasted, and so they would get a point for every correctly identified ingredient. Some of them used the strategy of writing down lots of things, which I thought was quite cunning, so I didn't knock off points for it. But only about half of the group, or even less, half of the groups, I think there were 11 groups, and only about 4 of them figured out that this was pistachio and not peanut butter. Maybe 5 or 6 groups. Golden milk. That's great. All fantastic. Yay.
I can't decide between the cinnamon bun and the PB&J.
I think the pistachio raspberry or the pecan pie that we had to start with, both really, really good, but all of them are really, really tasty.
I love that everybody's favorite is different. 6, 1, and 3. What was 1 was the pecan pie, and 3 was the cinnamon bun, Mississippi mud pie. There's quite a few people who were supposed to join the call who haven't, so be interesting to hear their thoughts after they taste them along with the recording. I love that every single chocolate has been somebody's favorite in amongst the 6. Does anyone have any questions for Isobel, Karen, or Shaoni? 2, 5, and 6. Well, I'm going to start asking my questions, but in case any of you have to shoot off, I'm going to just quickly, if it's okay, tell you about what's happening in the Chocolate Ecstasy Tours world. If you haven't seen my emails, and I'm going to put it on Instagram, the question. Yes, Ben, I've seen your email. Sorry, it's been a bit of a month. So I have installed an app into Shopify which sells the tours, and I tried. It also does virtual events. So the November one is in the calendar. I haven't actually tested it, so I might pull it out of the calendar, but the idea of putting it in the calendar was that then you would automatically get the Zoom invite through that, but I haven't tested it. So I have the next 2 days at home doing admin, so I'm gonna sort it out and email. But thank you for wanting to come. I'm very excited. I appreciate people chasing me to find out. So yeah, just quickly, and then I'll answer these questions. The October tasting, I'm going to be joined by Mira Minek, who has written 2 books, which both of them I have here, but one is beside my bed. It is that good. One is called Saffron Soul, which is in the other room, and it is a vegetarian Indian cooking. And then the other one is called Prana, and it's kind of a lot about Ayurveda and just finding peace and calm in your life. And she cooks for retreats. She used to have a cafe, and she has a business selling chai, and she's just a lot of fun and really lovely. And so she'll be joining us, plus the chocolatier, who is creating a set of 6 special chocolates, and 4 of them will be caramels. So if that's exciting to you, then there'll be some interesting flavored caramels, which will be fun. This chocolatier also bakes cakes and does brownies and things as well. So there is the option, if you have already bought for October, you can, and you would like to add the cocoa chai, which is really, really good, or some brownies, which I haven't tasted yet, but I'm trusting that they'll be good. I'm going to try and order some soon. If you'd like to add those to your order, then let me know. If you have already ordered them. If you haven't signed up for October yet, you can add them to your order now. And then November, I'll be joined by Felicity Cloak and another amazing chocolatier. December, I don't know who's going to join me yet, but I'm hoping that the chocolatier for that one will be especially exciting and known around the world, so that will be cool. And then January is vegan, then there'll be February and March, and those ones are all definitely happening, and after that I'm not sure. But the chocolate tours, if you hadn't noticed, are going to be stopping from a public tour perspective where people can join up, even though we've only just started. They're going to be stopping at the end of November. So you can still book private tours after that if you'd like to, but if you were planning to just come and join one, then come now. That would be great. And then I'm launching a podcast, and there's lots of other exciting things happening, but I will go back to the questions because there are some, and you're here to hear from the other people as well. So Dormouse, what type of grinder do you use? It's quite a specific one. For those of you who don't know, when you make chocolate, you have to grind the beans, the cocoa nibs that you get from the beans, and sugar together to get it nice and smooth.
Yes, we have quite a collection is the answer to that. So we started off using a Premier tilting grinder, which is kind of quite commonplace for most people to start with. They're quite small, they hold up to 3.5-4 kilos. You can run them in your kitchen at home, which is exactly what we did when we first started, and yeah, they're really practical and really great. If you're looking to get one, get them direct from DCM, who are the manufacturers, because they do a chocolate upgrade, which is sturdier and has temperature controls and cutouts. So there we go. You want one that's red, which isn't actually on any of these photos, but that's what they look like. At this one, yeah. So yeah, they tilt down, so they're really easy to empty as well.
And that's what it looks like inside. There we go.
Yes. So inside that, there's stone wheels which grind everything down. and make the paste.
Yes,
and
don't we all? There we go. That's what a grinder looks like when it's empty.
It looks a lot cleaner than mine as well.
Yeah, well, when it's empty and has never been used.
Yeah.
So,
so
no
then
paste.
we upgraded from that to a Spectra, which holds about 10 kilos. It's a Spectra 20 if you're if you're Googling. Oh no, sorry. Yeah,
25.
the 20. Is it the 20?
Yeah,
This one?
Yes.
Yeah, the 20.
Yeah, that one. And it's a great machine. It's a workhorse. It's very noisy. Definitely not recommended for home use
Or left-handed.
or left-handed people because of the way the controls work. And then a few weeks ago, we upgraded again to a DCM 20, which is beautiful and really, really, really quiet. Which, if you've ever been in my shop, you'll know, like when the grinders are running, it gets really, really noisy. So the DCM 20.
When this is running, we can have a conversation against the shop. We can have a shout.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see the film that. That was when I bought my dishwasher and fridge. I was like, they're going to be in the kitchen. I want them as quiet as possible, and that I can afford. So this is the. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's very cool and so quiet, and I love it a lot. We've only made 3 batches in it so far, and it's been, I think the chocolate's tasting even better
I
than
think the other machines are jealous of how much we love the diamond.
Yeah. And so the second part of that question, how fine do we grind? So we don't use any tools to measure the fineness of the grind. You can buy a sort of scraper that will measure the microns and how fine the grind is, but I literally just get a spoon and taste it, and you can tell just from rubbing the molten chocolate against the roof of your mouth whether it's fine enough to come out or not. And so it generally takes
hours. Yeah.
Sorry,
I was just asking what you're about to say. Sorry, I was asking how many hours.
Right. Yeah, it's generally about 48 to 72 hours. It varies depending on the chocolate and the size of the batch, but 48 is sort of standard length of time. Yeah, unfortunately, it does involve lots of tasting and checking, and yeah, then it's just ready when it's ready.
I was going to ask what your favorite part about making chocolate is, but that might have revealed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that and yeah, all the tasting, especially when you get new beans and you're sort of doing lots and lots of tasting and figuring out the best recipe to use with it. That's my favorite part.
When you get new beans, you taste them raw first and then you make a guess as to how long you need to roast them for, and then grind them.
Yeah, pretty much. It's we first run them through. It's very, very technical. We have a popcorn popper that we blast the beans for about 30 seconds, and it just sort of loosens the shell. It doesn't actually roast them in any way, it just loosens the shell and makes them a lot easier to peel. So we get a handful of those, and then once they're peeled, they go into a little coffee grinder, just into a powder, and that's still raw, and that just kind of gives you a sort of an idea of what sort of flavors you might be looking for when you start to roast. It also helps you figure out if there's anything wrong with them before you go through all the effort of roasting and all of that. So yeah, if there's something wrong with them, then there's no point. Luckily, we don't tend to get many beans where that's a problem. So yeah, once we've done that, we do sort of like a sort of standard-ish roast, but then pull the beans every 2 or 3 minutes and taste them, and then you can kind of tell when they're ready. And then yeah.
Do you think you can tell because you've done it lots of times, or could somebody just come in and go, no, these aren't done yet, like without having any experience?
It's definitely a practice thing.
Yeah.
I think until you've roasted too far, you don't know what good, like what.
Yeah, you need that
right...
the points of reference to.
Yes.
Yeah, so different origins and different regions and different suppliers, and the way they've been fermented differently, it'll affect them.
Yes, I think that's so important. Like once you've tasted chocolate that someone has told you is moldy, like they're made with moldy beans, or chocolate that's over roasted or over fermented or under fermented, then like if somebody's told you that and you've tasted it, then you can start to identify it when it's in, it might be much more subtle in other chocolates. So in terms of if you're judging it's or making, it's really advantageous to go through that guided session of tasting flaws in chocolate, not just good stuff, to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. You need the full sort of
The full
range
experience.
and the full experience to have those. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
As unpleasant as that part can be. So the question for Shaoni, what flavors are you excited about? Was that the question? Yeah, what are you excited about making or experimenting with next?
Well, we've got Halloween coming up, so the pumpkins are coming out, so pumpkin spice is going to be on the menu, and everybody loves pumpkin spice, me included. And then of course it's Christmas, and I'm stupidly decided to do an advent calendar with 24 different flavors, so that will be several nights of staying awake, or several days and nights of staying awake trying to make those in November. So yeah, it's just a case of figuring out what flavors I'm going to make over Christmas, and that is all I'm focused on at the moment. I haven't even thought about Valentine's or Easter, which I probably will do once the Christmas rush is over. So yeah, pumpkins and toffee apples and yes, toffee apples. I thought about making a s'more as well, because a s'more chocolate, I did that earlier this year, and that went down quite well. So marshmallows, chocolate, comforting winter flavors for now.
That sounds really good. The can we pre-order the advent calendars yet?
Yeah, they're on the website, so feel free.
I am going to do that tonight.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, that sounds like most people when they make advent calendars, they like repeat the chocolates at least twice, maybe 3 times. So although that makes it kind of better for sharing, I guess. You just need one per person in the household.
We also like making things difficult for ourselves.
Sorry? What was that?
So we also like making things difficult for ourselves. It's a Dormouse trait as well.
Yeah, I think it's a trait of excellent, creative, talented chocolatiers. It might not be like the best way to make a fortune, but it makes your jobs fun and rewarding, right? It's, yeah.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When people buy your calendar just because it's got the 24 flavors over other people's, you know you're onto a winner. There's so many other chocolatiers who are scared about taking on that commitment, and I am too, but I'm just focused on doing it just because I want people to experience a new experience every day leading up to Christmas. So we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I think we have to put an order in.
Yeah. Only I was your neighbor, I would come and help. Yeah, and eat. I'd probably eat more than I was helping to pack, to be honest. Okay, so what's the next question? So Dormouse, will you be at Canopy Market next month?
We will.
You know?
So if you didn't know, Canopy Market at King's Cross, run by Cocoa Runners.
15th to 17th of October.
17th.
Well remembered.
Yes.
Sorry, 17th, yeah?
15th. It's open on the Friday.
Okay.
Yes. 12. Yes. Then is it 11 till 8? I
It's
think.
11 till 8. It's a long day, but it'll be great.
Yes.
I've not done one for about 2 years.
And there'll be talks and tastings and all sorts of fun things.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if Cocoa Runners has the full list of talks up on their website yet.
I think tickets were meant to be going up this week. If not, they'll be going up very soon. Because it's free to attend, but I think there's a nominal fee for some of the talks and tastings.
They're quite they're quite cheap, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think-
it's all weekends, Monica. So yeah, we'll be there all weekend.
Cool. And so the question as well is, how did you learn to make chocolate, Karen and Isobel?
It was all a bit of an accident, really. Is the short answer. So years and years ago, about yeah, a long time ago anyway, I got a Christmas temp job at a well-known high street chocolate chain. And it was only supposed to be a temporary Christmas job, and I ended up staying with them for quite a long time. And a job came up in sort of hosting events and tastings, so I started doing that. And then I moved over into learning sort of production and bean to bar chocolate making with them. The idea at the time was they were going to roll out cafes and restaurants across the UK with bean to bar chocolate making on site. And so I kind of did a lot of training with them, and it was really great and really awesome and lots of traveling. And then I decided it was actually through doing them that I met Jen, because I was down in Covent Garden doing events and chocolate making, and you would come in with the chocolate tours. So yeah, that was great. And then eventually we decided that the traveling was too much, and so I set up on my own, just initially working in our kitchen at home downstairs, and yeah, we haven't really stopped since. So I think a lot of the sort of lessons that I learned working in bigger production could apply to the smaller production. Yeah, a lot that was just sort of like
scale down first in a way.
Yeah,
what you did, and then scale back up again.
But yeah, a lot of it's been just self-taught really as well, sort of taking the principles from what I learned back in the day and sort of applying them to smaller machines and figuring things out. So yeah, that's the sort of the potted history really.
I've kind of gone from being chocolate widow to full on Dormouse.
Yeah.
You still have a full-time job as well, though.
Yes, I'm still Dormouse the rest of the time.
Yeah, that's 2 full-time jobs then.
Yes. Yeah. And I appreciate every second.
Paid in chocolate.
My job means I can be the Dormouse IT department and
yeah,
finance and
yeah.
I think
I'm useless at doing.
I think it definitely helps to have a second person. Does your husband help you, Shaoni?
Honestly,
no. Oh,
no. And he can't hear me either. No, he can't. He doesn't help at all.
Oh, I hope you withhold chocolates from him. Then
He does support me, and he will come with me to markets and things if I ask him nicely. And he does help out if I'm not having a lot of money coming in. He'll help me financially, which is really important.
yes.
So he's wonderful, and even if he doesn't help me in the kitchen, he helps me in so many other ways.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and he did deliver chocolates to me. He drove from London to bring chocolates once.
And he went to see my parents afterwards.
Oh, that is a good husband. That is a good husband.
That's a good husband.
I forgot to ask people to smile. Will you please smile so I can take a screenshot of you all? Pretend like you're having a really awesome time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. You're darlings. I appreciate it. Okay, now I have to save it. So I look really strange in it, but that's fine. Thank you. The other question I had for Dormouse, apart from asking what their favorite thing is, I was curious to know if there was anything that they could remove from the process of chocolate making. What would it be? Like, what do you least like to do?
It reminds me washing the wheels of the grinder.
And somehow I always get to save them for you. It's just a treat.
Oh, there's a few bits of washing up round the back. Would you mind doing them?
It's always a big pile.
They're heavy and messy.
Have you ever had any disasters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Last time there was a canopy market, I was left on my own to take a batch of chocolate off, and I came in the morning and it had seized up and leaked through the bottom of the machine.
Oh.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't me. It was like that when I found it.
I just got a panicked phone call as I was trying to set up the canopy. I was like,
I don't know what to do. There's chocolate everywhere.
The base had come away from the spindle of, so there's like the base, and then there's like a thing in the middle that holds the stones, and that had come away from the base, and so all the chocolate just flooded into the machine.
And I think it was our last batch of the Philippine stock before we got new beans.
Yeah,
It's just gone.
Oh no.
It was a bad time.
It was.
When I went to visit Duffy years ago, he had stored his either his chocolate or his beans. I think it was his chocolate in, and there was a chemical spill.
I remember that.
From his neighbour, and so he lost tons of, like, quite literally tons of chocolate, and just crushing. Yeah, that was really upsetting. It's like you could use it for like props maybe, but very frustrating. And then Dom's burnt down.
Yeah.
Hi Dom. Puts you off chocolate making, doesn't it? I also wanted to know from Shaoni, what made you become a chocolatier?
Oh gosh, so I was an accountant for many years, and just decided that I'd had enough, and I wanted to do something that I enjoyed rather than staring at spreadsheets all day. So I learnt to make chocolate in my holidays off work, and decided to follow my dream and become a chocolatier.
And you still love it?
I do love
it.
Feels
like you do.
Yeah, I do. It's very stressful at times, but it's the downtime kind of balances out. So you have times during the summer where it's very quiet and you can enjoy yourself, and then you've got the very hectic kind of October, November, December, and then Valentine's and Easter, and then it kind of settles down again. So at least you know what's coming. At least you know when you can relax, when you can book your holiday. Whereas with accounts, you're working every month and you can't stop. So it's much more enjoyable. And I work from home, so it's my commute is non-existent. I roll out of bed and I come to work straight away. So I could start at 7 and stop at 7 if I want to, or carry on if I want to.
Yeah,
it's great.
I definitely like that. Like, the traffic in the hallway is just terrible. Sometimes it really makes it hard to get to my desk. Oh, I love that some of you have your Dormouse bars there. There's quite a few of you added on the Dormouse bars to your order. Do you have any comments on their thoughts, Karen and Isobel? Creamy texture, complex and persistent. I don't have mine in front of me.
I think that's fair about the Philippines.
Yeah, definitely. The 71.5 is our Cablon Farm bar, and that's the one we kind of always give to people who haven't tried our chocolate before, because it is just really smooth and creamy, and it's got a really nice mellow flavour. I think actually Shaoni once made truffles with that one as well. I
made a Muscovado caramel chocolate with those, and I went to a market with them, and I had about over 1,500 chocolates, and those sold out before every other flavour, because people were tasting a little bit of it, and then the chocolate clearly shines through, and it worked with Muscovado caramel so well that it was my best bestseller on that day, and I wish I had more of it. But it's so good. It's so good, and the flavour just works with every filling that you put with it as well. I've tried it with the lychee, rose and raspberry, and it works with that beautifully, because it's a bold flavour, but it's also mellow at the same time. It's wonderful, really lovely.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so interesting. I do find whenever the better quality like chocolate that you use for making filled chocolates, it really like stands out. And I think like Valrhona is an excellent standard to use as a chocolatier. But then it's so cool when you can like sometimes use Dormouse or Duffy or Original Beans or someone else who, quite rightly, their chocolate costs more. Valrhona have a massive scale, so they can be less expensive, even though they're still a lot more expensive than the Belgian chocolate that most chocolatiers use, which I think is good for certain flavors, but is not my general preference for chocolates. But yeah, in some flavors you don't notice that it's a kind of less expensive Belgian chocolate, but in others, like just plain ganache, just like that pecan pie would have been. So the Mississippi mud pie would have I wouldn't have enjoyed that if it was using Belgian chocolate, I don't think. But I'm a snob when it comes to chocolate. So does anyone have any more questions? I've just realized the time. You've all been very gracious in letting us continue to chat. Do you have more questions?
One other question in the chat that we've missed about doing a set with different roast profiles.
I didn't see that one.
Let's just scroll up. Oh yeah. Have you ever thought of doing a range of different roast levels for the same cacao in small bars?
Oh.
That is a good idea. There's actually a company in America called Fresco who do that, and they do an amazing range, and they do each bar that they do, they just change one little thing, so either the roast or the conch time, so you get loads of really interesting flavors coming from the same beans. So I definitely recommend looking them up if that's something you're interested in trying. It's not something that we've ever thought of doing, but we do have something kind of similar in the pipeline, using beans from the Philippines. So anyone who got 71.5% bar, using beans from that same farm but fermented in 4 different ways. So we've got a set of chocolate made with 4 different fermentation styles, so different lengths of time for the beans being fermented, or different temperatures that the beans are fermented at, and lots of cool, interesting little tweaks to the process, and then all made using the exact same recipe, so you can taste the difference. And hopefully, if I manage to get myself organized enough and order the packaging, we'll have them at Canopy to start with, although that might be setting myself an impossible goal. I've just had a look from Karen that says, really, do you think you're going to do that? So
this wasn't on the list.
The chocolate's all made, it just needs packaging.
Is this the one that the ones that we tasted in March 2019?
Possibly, although it's a new harvest, so there's a few more slight tweaks. It's been a really fun and interesting project to be part of. Each time there's a new harvest, we try different things, or the farm tries different things. So some are the same and some are slightly tweaked.
That's cool. Yes, in March 2019, I came to visit you at Dormouse, and Estella was there, and you made some different chocolates from the different fermentations in the
ones. And even it was really cool and really geeky. Some of the chocolates were even obviously different colours as well. Like one was really light compared to the others.
Yeah.
Really
It was the variations were the amount of time that it was fermented, so short, medium, long, I think, and then the amount of time for drying. Is it drying? No.
The turns.
Number of times it was turned.
Yeah. So when you're doing the fermentation, you have to sort of stir the beans or turn them from one fermentation box to another, and that sort of regulates the temperature and oxygenates the beans and gets oxygen especially into the center of the fermentation. So the times that you turn and when during the process you turn as well will add oxygen at different points and give you different flavors. So it's all very, very technical, and very, very geeky, but very interesting.
That's really cool. I have a picture for anyone who's interested. Fermentation. Fermentation boxes, and it's normally in a staircase style, but these are next to each other and like shifting the beans, the fruit and the seed cocoa bean from one crate to another to make it an aerobic fermentation rather than an anaerobic fermentation, which is how it starts. So the first 2 days is usually like kept without any oxygen, well, limited oxygen, and then you get the air into it. So for his home, the chocolate maker in Denmark. Yeah, I was going to say Copenhagen, but it's not. He's not in Copenhagen, but he's in Denmark. He has a triple turned and twice turned or single turned, I'm not sure, but with the same beans, and that's the only variation, which is really interesting as well. Cool. Was that all the questions? Have we covered everything? Has anyone thought of anything else? No? Well, I really hope you join us in October. Cannot believe it's nearly October. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited about these flavors. Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you then, if not November or December or all of them, or on an in-person tour, perhaps. But yeah, any questions at any point, please drop me an email or message me via social media. I'm very happy to answer any questions, give advice, or anything else. If you have questions about particular brands, I'm happy to offer my opinion. But yeah, it's been lovely to see you all. Thank you very much. And I'm glad I kept you away from the rainy outside. Thanks very much. See you again.